With the release of Abattoir of Zir, it's extremely important that you finish your seasonal journey. What's really good about it is that you don't actually have to complete all of the objectives. As you can see here, I haven't really completed all of them, but you still complete the chapter, and that's the only thing that you should be caring about. Now, with the last thing, you actually have to do 7. So for me, I'm actually lagging behind a little bit, but I only need 2 more glyphs on level 21 so that I can complete 7 out of 9 and therefore complete the full seasonal journey to unlock the ability to access the Abattoir of Zir. The portal to enter is going to be exactly here in Cat Badu. And now a word from the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is available on Android, iOS and even on PC. If you download right now using my link or scan the QR code on the screen, you will receive 2 incredible heroes that will give you a huge head start on the competition. In addition to that, you can get the legendary hero Sun Wukong by using my link and the promo code Monkey King. To redeem these promo codes, tap on the left side of the screen and select the promo code option. Now type in your code and hit confirm. It's that easy. You will receive confirmation if it was a success, and then you can claim your epic rewards from your inbox. It's extremely rare to see Raid offer such a legendary champion for free, so don't wait and download the game and use the promo code Monkey King 72 hours after downloading with the link in the description below. Over 650 completely unique champions and millions of unique character builds for you to discover and try out. Play around with an insane amount of gear and talent combinations. And you can also join a clan and become unstoppable and fight epic dungeon battles and raid bosses. Download Raid Shadow Legends using my link in the description or the QR code on the screen. Big shout out to Raid for sponsoring this video. It's actually really important to place the new Tears of Blood glyph on the best Paragon board possible. This is where Barricade comes into play, as he is currently going over all of the best Paragon boards over on his YouTube channel. As you can see here, the link will be down in the description below. And also the guides over on Maxroll are going to be updated with an AoZ variant where you can actually see where you should be putting in your Tears of Blood glyph to get the maximum effect out of it. As you can see here, the glyph is actually scaling with core stats, so it's extremely important to have as many core stats as possible in range. As you can see here, we are taking literally all of the common nodes here that have just +5 to whatever, because that is actively being scaled as damage whenever you are putting in your new unique glyph. And as you can see here on the bottom left, you actually have a drop-down menu where you can see multiple variants, because the glyph is also leveling up and therefore it's also increasing its radius. It's starting out on 4 already and then goes to radius 5 whenever you hit level 50. So as you can see here, the changes are instantly going to be made. There's some stuff being removed, and then you will instead get way more core stats here in this circle. As you can see, it reaches all the way over here. And whenever you are hitting level 50, that's the transition that you gotta do. Also, it's extremely important to level up your glyphs as far as possible. Yes, you can use your totems that you're gonna get from the abattoir to level up your glyphs, but you would ideally be using all of those on the new unique glyph so that you can get a head start over the competition. As you can see here, we also need to be crafting blood forged sigils with the corresponding tiers. Since we are not clearing everything on the first try, it's going to be extremely important that you can craft multiple of those sigils. So it's also really important to stock up on Sigil Powder, which is indirectly being done anyway as you are leveling up your glyphs. The tier 1 glyph is going to cost 800 Sigil Powder. So as you can see here, tier 91 to 100 would actually cost 450. So we are looking at almost double this for the tier 1 glyph, which is obviously going to scale up exponentially. Currently, we don't know if we are going to get more drops of these Nightmare Dungeon sigils or other blood forged sigils that are going to open the next tier, or that you can salvage for more sigil dust. So therefore, it's really smart to stock up on Sigil Powder in preparation for the release of Abattoir of Zir. To get the maximum performance out of your character, it's going to be really important that you have elixirs ready. Also, some that are dropping from Helltide, so we probably have a lot of those from farming Uberdurils, but what we might not have enough of is actually incenses. As you can see here, I can only craft up to 21 choruses of war, which are gonna be really helpful for those very last tiers of Abattoir of Zir. Currently, we only know that it's going to be really tough to even think about clearing those, so every little bit of damage or defense is going to be important when it's going against those very high Abattoir of Zir tiers with the Bloodforged sigils. As you can see here, I definitely have some more farming to do. What I find myself lacking almost always are currently the Pale Tongues, which are farmable by killing humanoids and stuff like that. So definitely check out the Craft Incense tab and target a little bit what you are missing. For example, right here, I can see that my lowest, or that my bottleneck basically is Blight Shades. So every time I see a Blight Shade, I'll instantly go and pick that one up. Having that in mind, when you are going about that last 1 to 1.5 week of gameplay, is actually going to help you out in the later stages of Abattoir of Zir. And to be honest, it's also really important to jump into Abattoir of Zir instantly and not needing to farm herbs, because everybody just wants to play the new and ultimate pinnacle content instead of just going around gathering herbs because they require more incenses. One of the most important things is actually having alternative items ready. As you can see here, my whole stash is completely full with other very, very good items. Also, I created a lot of mules. I think I have 6 currently that all hold a full inventory of very good items. They also hold Maxroll aspects, so it's extremely important to have those ready whenever you need to fine-tune your build, be it more on the offensive side or be it more on the defensive side. But you actually don't want to waste your time going into a Nightmare Dungeon or farming Uberdurils when you could be instead pushing the Abattoir of Zir and leveling up your glyph. It's extremely important to emphasize the armor cap. If monsters continue to scale +1 level per tier, and there are currently 25 tiers in AoZ, then we expect the armor cap to end up at 14,986. As you can see here, I am sitting at 11.5k currently without disobedience stacks, and it's going to be extremely important for the highest tier of Abattoir of Zir to get 15,000 armor. A little bit lower than that, but let's just focus on an easier number here with disobedience. Ideally, you would hit that a little bit earlier because you don't really have access to all disobedience stacks at the start of the fight, so you might just get shredded at the start of the fight against those very, very high tiers. So take a look at your armor. It's going to be extremely important to have total armor like this one. I've gotten really lucky on this helm here actually, and yeah, also your chest can get total armor, your pants can get total armor, and even your amulet can get total armor. As you can see here, I have them on all of the items right here. And yeah, that's why I end up at 11.5k armor, further being increased by disobedience. A very good way to test this would actually be the training grounds right here in Kjovashat. Almost at the capstone dungeon, you can enter this, and there is actually the target dummy, and you can play around with your armor there. As you can see here, I have locked over to my second backup necro, and that one is level 98 only 8.2k armor, but whatever, it has disobedience on the chest, and you could actually just go here to click multiple training dummies to get your stacks up very, very fast. And as you can see here, my disobedience is actually currently stacking. And then at 60 stacks, you could check your armor again, and then you would see how much you currently would have if you would have a stack disobedience. You could then start tinkering around, especially with your jewelry, because you might get the chance of fixing your resistances in another way, for example on the Paragon board, and then you could put up to 750 more armor here on your jewelry. Definitely a viable alternative if your armor is a little bit lower. Over on Maxroll, we are also going to add an Abattoir of Zir variant, as you can see here, where we explain a lot of stuff like this in the variants themselves, and actually give some tips like the Iron Elixir or Song of the Mountain for more armor, for example, or the Redamine Buzz for more maximum life, and also Iron Skin and stuff like that. So you can see how the setups are going to change for AoZ. And these will be available on all of the guides on Maxroll. So if you've been following those, definitely give them a new check. around this time, maybe latest in a week, all of them are going to be updated with the corresponding Abattoir of Zir variant, which is also going to tell you how you should be building and how you can actually reach that around 15,000 armor cap. Something that you shouldn't underestimate under any circumstances is CC. As you can see here, for example, Enhanced Decrepify actually can stun the enemy, and actually this is the best form of damage reduction against trash mobs or normal mobs or elite mobs, everything that is not a boss basically, because when they are CC'd they can't do anything. Ideally you don't want to CC them too much because that obviously makes them unstoppable at some point, and if you rely on CC only as your only defensive mechanic, that's not going to work out in the very high tiers because at some point they are just going to be unstoppable. But instead, definitely don't forget that CC is going to be extremely important because if they are stunned, they can't deal damage. Also, this is going to give you the necessary safety when it comes to pushing into a room or pushing into the very high Abattoir of Zir dungeons. As you can see right here, for example, Corpse Tendrils, also extremely important. A 3-second stun for everything in range of the Corpse Tendrils. Something that you definitely have to watch out for and include in your builds to make it that much more safer. Something that is going to be one of the easiest way to test your current build is going to be a T100 Butcher. As you can see here, I'm just fighting off something here during leveling, but again, this is one of the hardest and toughest enemies to actually exist in the game. So if you can kill, but more importantly, sustain the damage output of a tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon Butcher, then your build is definitely ready for the Abattoir of Zir. Now, it's also going to be extremely important to understand what the limiting factor of your progression is going to be in Abattoir of Zir. That is currently not known. We just know that we need to get really defensive, but obviously at some point being defensive is not going to be enough. You need to tip the scales in favor of what you are currently needing. And that can not only be different from class to class or from build to build, but also from character to character. Just because a Necromancer can do tier 15, for example, because he is Giga defensive, doesn't mean that you can also do that by stacking Giga defense. It is all going to be extremely important to check out the very last little bit of gear and then actually adjust your gear to whatever challenge you are currently facing. So if you are just getting too tapped everywhere, then the solution is going to be extremely easy. Just build more defense. If you are currently not having any problem of dying, but your big problem is that you're running out of time in Abattoir, then it's going to be extremely important to get rid of a little bit of defense and then stack a little bit more offense. And in that case, the tip that I gave you earlier with more items in your stash that can fill out those slots is going to come in extremely handy. Currently, nobody knows the scaling, and therefore it's going to be adjustments on the fly depending on what your current problem is. But I think that it's going to become way more blurry, the line in between those two, the further we are going to push in Abattoir. Obviously, scaling the unique glyph is going to help with one side, so maybe at some point when your glyph is like omega leveled and I don't know, around level 50 or maybe even higher than that. Currently, we don't even know what the highest possible is going to be in those 6 weeks that the Abattoir is available. But maybe when your unique glyph is extremely high in the level, then you can stack up on full defense. Currently, we don't know this. Therefore, make sure to stay informed when it comes to YouTube or the Twitch streams of the very best in your class, to actually understand what they are facing, and so you can prepare accordingly and very, very early during your progression already. Now, some tips for the hardcore characters or the people that are insane enough to push the Abattoir on hardcore. As you can see here, I'm currently not equipping any of my Uber uniques that might be helpful in the Abattoir, and I'm not going to do so until I'm hitting a brick wall. This means I will stay with my current setup, which is, this is not going to be the character that I'm using at first. Again, this is just a backup, but whenever you are pushing in the Abattoir, there is going to be a point in time where you feel like, okay, this is my absolute limit, and only at that point should you be equipping your Ubers that you have been farming for so exhaustively. As you can see here, the Doombringer is going to sit there for quite some time until I feel I can't push anymore without it. In this way, I'm not risking of losing it along the way. Because even if I lose one character, if that one doesn't have the Doombringer equipped, for example, then I can just hop onto the backup, grind all the way up. But if I lose the Doombringer, or if you have a Shaco, if you lose that Shaco in hardcore, then there is probably not a lot of catching up to do anymore, because there you will just hit that brick wall of progression way sooner than if you would have kept your Uber uniques in the stash. And this ties into the second tip: obviously have backup characters ready on hardcore. As you can see here, this one is 98. It is easily going to hit level 100, while I am going to keep farming for Uber Durils with this character in Hell Tides and in Blood Tides or Vamp Tides. If you can smash that out before the Abattoir of Zir, you're probably going to go into it very strong with a lot of backup characters and a lot of time to actually push out the very high levels. I've prepared way more Abattoir of Zir stuff when it comes to guides and builds that are gonna be releasing over the next week up until to the release. And if you don't want to miss out on new infos, I suggest you subscribe to this YouTube channel, and also you check out the Twitch link down in the description below, where we are doing a lot of live testing. And as soon as Abattoir goes live on the 5th of December, I'm going to be streaming my hardcore progression, which is probably going to end up in a rip of at least one character. Maybe both of those are gonna rip. Let's see when and where I'm gonna be losing the Doombringer. If you want to see me suffer through this, again, the Twitch link is down in the description below, and I'll see you next time.